my channel. My name is Oscar Mbira. I'm a certified program and project manager. In this video, I'm going to take you through the 25 skills which you must polish as a project manager, either in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s. These are the skills that are very important for a project manager to exist in a project environment to deliver a project. In this channel, this is where I teach aspiring project managers or practicing project managers to succeed. So skill number one, you should have ability to invest in yourself as a project manager. You must find some time to invest in your personal development. This is very important. You can either attend a course, you can either attend any conference or seminars on project management, or you can even read some books. I can give you an example for myself. I always make sure that per each month or maximum 2 months, I go through some reading of books, especially on project management, on leadership and strategic management. These are very, very important books I normally read, also including the change management. So as a project manager, you must find some time to invest in yourself. That is also good for your growth. That is also good for your knowledge. You widen the base of your knowledge as you run one project to another. So skill number two, ability to learn new skills and new tools. In this day and age, there are so many new and old tools coming out, new tools coming in. So as a project manager, it's very important for you to learn these skills. It's good for your career. It's also good for your delivery. So you might want to learn new things like the AI, how to use artificial intelligence in project management. You might want to do some certification. It could be PMP, it could be a Prince 2, and so on and so forth. There are also new tools coming in, like Asana, we have Trello, we also have Microsoft Project. These are tools as a project manager. You should always try to push yourself to learn, also to keep yourself updated in terms of changes, in terms of new capabilities. That also improves your productivity as a project manager. The moment you use these collaborative tools, it becomes very easy as a project manager to be understanding, to be effective, to be productive. So it's very important that you also move along with the new tools that are coming in, especially on artificial intelligence. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button so that you are the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. Skill number three, you must have ability to self-analyze. What do we mean by that? As a project manager, it could be a first project, but most people have been involved in so many projects in different capacity. Maybe in that time you were not yet a project manager. But as a project manager, you should be able to do what is called self-reflection in terms of your performance from the previous projects or your performance from even the current one, including both successful and the failed ones. You should be able to do a self-assessment, analyze yourself. What is it you have done very well? What is it you have done very badly? What can you consolidate? What can you improve? And what can you even share as lessons learned with other members? So self-analysis is very important. Just be honest with yourself. If you have not managed to implement a specific project because of some skills, make sure you acquire the skills. Remember our skill number two. If it's because of some tools, make sure you acquire those tools, and so on and so forth. Skill number five, ability to stay positive and optimistic. As a project manager, you're a leader. Even if there's a serious setback that you might have experienced during the project or during the phase of a project, you still have to maintain positivity. That is also going to encourage your team to go on, even if there was that particular setback. I also had the same challenge in one of my projects. We were supposed to be completing the project in 3 months. Unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, the procurement team requested 2 to 3 months to bring in that component. So it meant the project was going to be delayed. I had so many members on site. They were supposed to extend their stay on site. So that was a serious setback. I had to encourage the team that at the end of the day, we still have to deliver and complete the project. Positivity is very important as a project manager. You should maintain it at any given point, at any given phase of the project. Skill number six, ability to maintain consistency. As a project manager, consistency is very important, which means you have to maintain consistency in terms of your milestones. You also have to maintain consistency in terms of procedures and regulations required within the operating environment of the project. You also have to maintain consistency in terms of baselines, for example, cost baseline, time baseline, also in terms of milestone baselines, assumption baselines, technical baselines. As a project manager, that kind of consistency, you must maintain it as a skill, or you must polish that skill so that people, they know that if you are put in a certain responsibility as a project manager, that project is going to be delivered because they are a very consistent project manager. So project management consistency is key to the success of your project. Ability to keep trying even if you failed before. It's very unusual that your project, unless it's something that is very, very small, big projects like the ones I've managed to run more than $6 million US, these ones, there's likely going to be some setbacks. There's likely going to be some failures. For example, in a certain phase or stage, you wanted to complete it within 2 months. You might fail to complete it within 2 months, probably might complete it 2, 3, or 4, even 4 weeks later. So if that happens, that's a failure to meet the milestone. That should not discourage you as a project manager. You should be able to pick from there, relocate your approaches, rearrange your team, and then move forward. I had a similar situation where we were supposed to be closing a certain stage within 2 weeks. It took us 6 weeks to close the project. So that meant that we were now eating into the time for the next activities. That was very, very demoralizing. But as a project manager, what I had to do was to make sure that we change our strategy, we rearrange our team, we start doing other activities in parallel, just to be able to recover some of the lost time. So that is also very, very important. Even if you're coming from some failure or setback, as a project manager, you need to continue moving forward. Skill number 8, ability to manage time. As a project manager, managing time is very, very important. If you are not able to manage time as a project manager, it will be very difficult, especially to deliver a project within the timelines or to complete specific tasks within the timelines. So as a project manager, you should be able to manage time. Time does not only pertain to project timelines. Even in meetings, I've seen some project managers who are not able to manage time in meetings. A meeting which was supposed to take 30 minutes, it will take 2 hours. That is a failure in terms of time management. So whatever you do as a project manager, you should always manage time. It must be within the time. Even if it's a task, it's a stage of the project, it's a complete program, it's a complete project, it's a meeting, it's an engagement with any stakeholders. It must have the time limit and you must stick to that. Once you start doing that, it will be very easy for most of the activities to be completed based on the planned timelines. Skill number 9, ability to break down a complex task or process into smaller, manageable processes. This is a skill every project manager should polish. I remember my first days, I was not able to do this breakdown properly. But now I've learned so many skills, I've learned so many things in terms of how to break it down. So breaking down a bigger task into smaller tasks as a project manager is very important. Let's take an example. You have a plan. A plan has got broader. It has got broader terms. It has got broader activities. It has got broader products. So how do you make sure that you attain the required quantity and quality? How do you make sure that you deliver the product based on what the user is expecting? So the best way is to break down the tasks into smaller units. It becomes easy to allocate time. It becomes easy even to allocate responsibility. So a project manager should be able to break down a complex task into smaller tasks. We normally experience this when you're doing project planning. There's no way you can just start a project with only one big task and then you expect it to be completed. But you have to go inside each and every task, break it down further until the smallest unit, which you can assign timeline, which you can also assign responsibility. So the ability to break down a task into smaller tasks is very important for a project manager. It's a skill that you have to start. It's a skill that you have to polish. It's a skill that you have to continuously learning about it. Skill number 10, ability to read and understand. This is very important. A project manager should be able to read and understand. I know there might be cases where there could be some technical jargon. So as a project manager, you might fail to quickly pick up exactly what is meant by either it's an email or it's a memo or whatever communication you're getting. So it's a responsibility to look for a technical guy to put the technical terms in simpler English so that you understand. But as a project manager, you are not supposed to receive any communication which you don't understand and then you sit on it. Seek clarity. Seek for people who can come to you and explain to you in simple terms what is meant by that communication, whether it's verbal, whether it's written, whether it's video, or whatever form of communication. It's very important that you are able to read, you're able to understand. The advantage of doing that is once you're able to understand, at least you're able to control things within the project. But if you don't understand some of these communications, some of these memos, some of these emails, it will be very difficult as a project manager for you to be able to control things, for you to direct things, for you to be able to lead things in a project, or to lead in activities or stage or phases in a project. So that is also very important. Skill number 11, ability to memorize. A project manager should be able to memorize. The advantage of being able to memorize is if there's a case, if you're in a meeting, you don't need to refer to anything, either to your phone or to your notes. You are able to memorize what was done before. Then you're also quick to respond to any of those questions. And you're also quick to connect the dots. You're also quick to make decisions. You're also quick to give guidance. If you're able to memorize what was discussed before, what was also agreed before, that is very, very important. As a project manager, you should be able to memorize. Memorization of things is very important for your survival as a project manager. Skill number 12, ability to speak in front of large audience. A project manager is a public speaker. As a project manager, there's no way you're going to close your door in your office. You expect to do anything, finish it, and then you ask people to follow what you have decided. No. In most cases, as a project manager, you're a public speaker. You either speak in meetings, you either speak in seminars, you even speak in some presentations. You can even speak during some orientations in the project. You can even speak during some celebrations of some milestones. So there's no way as a project manager you can avoid being a public speaker. You will always be a public speaker. You speak to a large audience to give directions, to celebrate milestones, to also make decisions, or even just to hear from the team how comfortable they are with the project, how things are going, what can be improved, what can be done better. So that is also very important. A project manager, you're a public speaker. You should be able to speak in front of so many people. Skill number 13, ability to seek help. This is also important. I've seen so many project managers messing up on this. They think that they know everything, so therefore they don't have to consult anyone. That is not the case. As a project manager, you should be able to seek help when it's necessary. Always seek help when it's necessary. You might seek help along whatever level of the project. It could be project board, it could be project director, other peer project managers, or even team managers, or even team members. So seek help at any of the levels in the project structure. Don't feel guilt to ask for help. Don't feel guilt and do wrong things instead of asking for help. That is one of the very important skills to build as a project manager. You should be able to ask for help, and you always get help, and that is always beneficial to the project. Skill number 14, ability to listen to others. This is very important. A project manager does not work in isolation. No. A project manager is always working with people. So when you're working with people, you should find some time to listen to them, especially when they are disagreeing with your point, especially when they are disagreeing with your guidance. Try to listen to them, even if they are saying something which you think is still wrong. Understand their perspective. Also present your case. Try to convince them to follow what you want. So listening to others in a project is very important. Don't just listen to your superiors. Even the foot soldiers in the project, they are also doing work and they know better than anyone else. That is why the wisdom says the foot soldier is the best creator of a strategy, because they are already doing the things. They are already suffering. They are already feeling the challenges. So they will give you better strategies than commanders who are sitting in office. So always listen to any stakeholder in the project. A stakeholder is anyone who has got interest in the project. So if someone says something, listen. I'm not saying don't always do it, but listen, try to understand it, digest it, and then make a decision. Skill number 15, ability to convey what you think and what you feel. As a project manager, that is very important. You might think that the way people are doing things is not right. You should be able to explain that to people, why you think that way, and why you think whatever they are doing is not right and your thinking is better than them. Without any emotions, just be able to explain your point, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. You can even do it verbally. You can even do it written. That is very important. People should know what is coming from your mind, not to assume that because you have acted this way, so you meant this. You should be able to say it to the team, either written or verbal. Skill number 16, ability to negotiate. There is no way you can run a project as a project manager without some form of negotiation. It could be negotiating with contractors. It could be negotiating with vendors. It could be negotiating with the sponsor. It could be negotiating with even the organization or the institution. It could be even negotiating with your team members. So negotiation is very important. And during negotiation, make sure you keep things cool until you reach a compromise, until you reach an agreement with whoever you're negotiating with. Project management is all about negotiation. From initiation up to the closure of the project, you always negotiate. To move from one stage to the other, to move from one phase to the other of the project, you always negotiate. So negotiation skills should be part of you as a project manager. If you want to succeed in project management field, you cannot avoid negotiation. It's always everywhere, and it comes at any time, any phase of the project. Skill number 17, ability to influence others. A project manager is always achieving the tasks through others. So if you're not able to influence others, you won't be able to achieve your tasks. So the best way to achieve your task is to cultivate your skill to influence others to do things, even if they're not willing, or even if it's after hours, if you are during the weekend, you can still negotiate with them, you can still influence them to do that task. So ability to influence is very important as a project manager. Especially if you are starting as a project manager, you should start polishing this skill of ability to influence others to either listen to you or to either complete a specific task that you are giving to them, or even to take the guidance from your end. Skill number 18, ability to use persuasive language, persuasive words. As a project manager, don't just jump into command and control approach. It works in operations, yes. But in projects, if you try to use command and control approach, you'll find it will be very difficult for you to complete that project. You find so many members, they miss their targets because of the command and control approach. Some of them, they might not even submit reports, or they submit them very late. So you should always be using persuasive words to make sure that you achieve your task. Command control, it's not very easy. I've been in a project where my counterpart from the other side was trying to use the command and control approach. And you would find most of the deadlines are being missed, where people are supposed to put additional effort, there's no additional effort. Even the quality of the deliverables from the project, they were also going down. Why? Because people were not happy with that approach. People normally they expect persuasive way of doing things. The same also applies to projects. So as a project manager, you should always use persuasive ways. Skill number 19, ability to make decisions based on facts and not emotions. This is very important. As a project manager, you cannot make decisions based on emotions. It must be based on facts. That is what is going to make the project successful. Once you become emotional as a project manager, you should know that the project is now heading for failure. You should always use facts. If someone says something, try to get the actual facts about that situation. Don't try to assume anything, or don't try to use any emotions. Using those facts, then you can either provide guidance, or you can stop something from happening, or you can even register risk in the project, or even you can even request for additional support from either senior management or anyone else within the project. So that is very important. Use facts, not emotions, as a project manager. Right from the beginning of the project up to the closure, you should always use facts, not emotions. That is what makes a project successful. Skill number 20, ability to feel what others feel. We call it empathy. As a project manager, you should be able to go on the other side of the table, try to understand why people are reacting that way, why people are feeling that way, why people think that the project is not moving, why people think even your leadership skills are not good. So you should be able to feel what others are feeling. You go on the other side of the table, appreciate from that angle. Why is it people are seeing things differently from where you sit? If you are able to do that as a project manager, that is very, very important for the project. At least you'll be able to come up with strategies, decisions, guidance, and the way forward based on the view of others, not based on your view. So it's also very, very important that you start feeling and thinking what others are thinking, then you make a decision from there. Skill number 21, ability to walk away when your principles are compromised. As a project manager, you might reach a situation where, for example, they want to do something unethical, which is now against your values. You would be able to walk out of that situation. you should polish that skill so that you focus on the project, you don't get distracted by other things during your course of running the project. So you should be able to walk away as an ability, polish it. You should be able to walk away from any situation where you see your values or your principles are being compromised. If you're able to do that as a project manager, that is good for the project because you always work according to values, you always work according to what is good for the project. Skill number 22, ability to shut up when it's necessary. A project manager is not always supposed to talk. I've seen some project managers, I've come across them in my career, last 2 decades of my career, where they're always speaking, even if when it's necessary. And they end up even speaking some words which can either irritate the client or senior management or get them into trouble. So as a project manager, unless if it's necessary, you should always learn to shut up and listen as any discussion is going on. That is very important. Skill number 23, ability to master your thoughts. As a project manager, you are going to reach a situation where you are going to be under pressure. You're going to reach a situation where everyone is panicking. Probably you've missed the deadline, probably a milestone, you have gone over the cost and everything else. So as a project manager, you must master your thoughts. Even if under pressure, you should do what is called composure. You must have a high level of composure, even under pressure. Even things are not going very well, things are not going very right, you think about it, you re-strategize, you rearrange things, you still push the project to move forward. Skill number 24, ability to work in a multicultural and multinational environment. This day and age, it's very rare to find one project with only the same community. It's normally mixed from different parts of the world. I've been in one of the projects some 3-4 years ago where I had 9 nationals in my project with cultural differences. So if you're a project manager, you should train yourself to work in such scenarios. If you don't train yourself to work in such scenarios, it will be very difficult for you to manage any conflicts. It will be very difficult also for you to avoid even those conflicts before they happen. But if you train yourself to work in a multicultural, multinational environment, it becomes very easy to deliver the project. It also becomes very easy to unite the team, to have collaboration within the team. So it's a skill that is very, very important to be able to work in a multicultural, multinational environment as a project manager. That is very important for the success of the project. The last skill, which is skill number 25, is the ability to continue working irrespective of the situation as a project manager. So a project manager, a leader, you might reach a situation where there's a bit of uncertainty in the project, or there is too much demands or difficult demands from the client. I've gone through that situation where there was so much demand from the client, but what is very important is for you to continue focusing on the project, deliver the project deliverables. Whether there's uncertainty, the client is very difficult, your intention, your purpose, your objective in the project is to deliver the project, which means you deliver it within the timelines, you deliver it within the cost, and also you have to make sure that the scope is also covering what was expected in the project, and also the organization is going to reap the benefits of the project. You are also going to achieve the goals and objectives of the project. So don't get distracted by other things. Just focus on what you have to do. I was in a situation like that where the client was demanding so much in terms of changes. You deliver one product, they ask you to change, to improve on it. Then when you think this is now the last change, they bring in other changes. The focus was to make sure to stick to the scope of the contract, to the scope of the products. So that is what saved the project until it was delivered. You have reached the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want me to create any additional video based on the skills that we have discussed earlier, let me know in the comment section below.